Code Adam, written by the librarianchick. Code Adam. The voice cracked in mock enthusiasm over the intercom. Forcibly sweet, so not as to raise alarm among the shopping customers. Even so, we could all hear the annoyance in the voice as the familiar code forced us to stop what we were doing and look for a misplaced child. We already had 3 today and it was barely noon. Code Adam was the code word we used to alert us to a missing child. Often, they were hiding in a closed racket waiting for their mom to find them. Or sometimes we'd find them in the bakery aisle happily munching on a box of sweets they'd opened and their parents would refuse to pay for. I rolled my eyes and mentally groaned. Honestly, how hard was it to keep track of a whole person? I know the kids are small and sometimes slippery, but they don't vanish into thin air. My coworker Michael walked up next to me and gave me a look that probably mirrored my own. He's a 5-year-old boy wearing jeans and a red hoodie, blonde hair and green eyes, white sneakers, Caucasian, and his name is Hunter. Michael repeated to me with the sign. We began walking the aisles, as did all my numerous coworkers. We checked the bakery aisle, the toy aisle, and checked the clothing racks as we waited to hear the all clear. But it didn't come. Usually we find the kid in under 5 minutes. Every once in a while it might take 10 minutes if the kid is really well hidden. In the distance I could hear some historical screaming, and the calming tones of my manager were also joined in. That would have to be the mother of Hunter yelling at my boss about why it's taking so long to find her precious son. Another 5 minutes passed and I was getting annoyed. The kid was either well hidden, or he might have even waltzed out the front door in search of whatever had distracted his little goldfish brain. Do you think he got snatched? We should have found him by now, Michael asked, moving aside some stacks of paper towels. At this point, we were checking behind everything in case the kid had gotten himself trapped in some tiny space. I don't know. I hope not. I'm sure they'll call the police, and there are security cameras everywhere, I said, trying to sound reassuring. More than anything, I was getting more annoyed. This was keeping us all from getting our jobs done, and I refused to stay later than I had to. I wanted to get some online gaming in before my college classes tomorrow. Today was a rare day when I didn't have any assignments due, and I wanted to relax after work. I swore if I ever had a kid, they'd be on a leash the entire time we were out of the house. 30 minutes had passed before the cops came in the door. Someone had called them. Whether it was the store or the kid's mom, I wasn't sure. If my boss called them, it meant the kid probably wasn't in the store. And that brought the fear of a kidnapping. The police passed me by without a look, and I got a glimpse of Hunter's mother. She was a pretty soccer mom type, but her face was twisted in hysteria and tears had been running down her face, smearing her mascara. In her arms was a cherubic baby girl who, luckily, was not crying but seemed shell-shocked by either her mother's sobs or the situation. One of our supervisors found me and told me to go back to my regular stock shelving duties. Her name was Ashley and she was actually a pretty nice person, and one of my favorite supervisors. There were tears in her eyes, and I knew she was probably worried about the boy. She was 7 months pregnant with her first child, so this was probably her worst nightmare made reality. Have the cops found anything yet? I inquired. She shook her head.
They're reviewing the tapes now, but I don't know if they found anything.
It's gonna be okay, Ashley. Maybe the kid just ran out the door and went to the park. The tapes will show what happened to him. I stammered, trying to reassure her. I was never good around crying women. Ashley smiled at me.
Thanks, Roland. You're right. I'm sure they'll be okay.
I went on with my day. I was still here for another 5 hours, and the atmosphere of the whole place was changed. Everyone had a rumor about what happened to the kid. But the consensus was that he had almost definitely been kidnapped. 2 more hours passed before the voice chimed over the intercom. Code Adam. This time the voice didn't carry any hint of annoyance, but rather of fear. Even I didn't care about it this time. I really hoped that we would find some chubby toddler chomping on cinnamon rolls they'd stolen. It was better than the alternative. Michael found me again and gave me the child's description. This time it's a girl. Asian with a pink polka dot dress, black shoes, and her hair is in a ponytail. Her name is Daisy, he whispered to me. and he looked alarmed. We all dropped what we were doing and we searched that store top to bottom. We didn't find her in the first 5 minutes, or even the first hour. The police were called in, and once again we heard the sounds of a hysterical parent screaming for their child. When my shift was over, I practically ran to my car. The storm was becoming too oppressive, and we all walked around with a rising sense of alarm. Having one child kidnapped was terrible, but 2 in one day was some kind of sadistic pattern. When I got home, my mom asked me about what happened at work. Apparently word had spread, and even a news crew had appeared outside the store talking about the 2 children who had vanished. It was surreal seeing my store on the news. Even more so seeing my manager on live TV talking about how they were working with the authorities. I didn't work the next day because of classes, and I was grateful for that. I've never been so happy to study cybersecurity. Michael messaged me around noon, and I opened it hoping for some good news. Or at least a funny meme. I was hoping that he'd tell me they found the 2 kids. 2 more were taken today. Twin boys. No one saw anything. That was all the message said. My blood froze, and I didn't bother replying. The next day I worked, and it was like walking into a war zone. Absolutely everyone was on edge. If there were kids in the store, their parents had them in the cart, or had a death grip on their hand. My job was hard that day because every second customers came up to me asking if I knew anything about the disappearance. Anything at all. Why was I keeping information from them? My customer service smile was pasted on my face all day as I answered question after question from increasingly angry people. Suddenly, over the intercom, the voice spoke again. Code Adam. We didn't find that kid either. It was another little girl. She was turning 8 this weekend, and she and her mom were at the store picking up a birthday cake. Her picture was on the news that night, and I was morbidly fascinated by it. She was a cute little girl, and it almost brought me to tears wondering what some pervert might be doing to her. It felt like a violation as well. Yeah, I might not have had the greatest love for my job, but it was still a place that I was tied to. I had friends who worked there. I knew almost every inch of that store, and the thought of some predator coming into the space and taking an innocent kid was terrifying to me. My parents had asked me to quit, but I couldn't. I needed to have a job to pay for gas and my other bills. At least I couldn't quit until I had a new job lined up. Michael told me that Ashley had quit the store. I couldn't blame her. With all the missing kids and her being pregnant, she had more reasons to worry. The next day at work was utterly surreal. The store was basically deserted, for which I was thankful. If I had to describe the feeling there, it was almost post-apocalyptic. Everyone finished their jobs with a manic urgency. The customers who came in for groceries were, thankfully, all adults, and they seemed keen on getting what they wanted and getting out. An hour before my shift was scheduled to end, a group of men came into the store, perhaps a dozen in all, wearing camo and a few teens and preteen boys. It made my hair stand on end. They looked serious, and they all spread around the store as if they were on the hunt. Michael found me and gestured to the men. Stay away from these guys. Apparently there's some kind of hunting enthusiasts who've taken to being vigilantes. Some of them are carrying guns under their jackets. The manager already called the cops. He whispered to me. My blood began pounding. Concealed and carry firearms were forbidden in the store. The last thing we needed was some trigger-happy yokel pulling his gun on a customer thinking he was a pedophile. In the distance, I suddenly heard some shouting. My blood ran cold thinking that someone had pulled out a gun. But then I heard the intercom come to life. Code Adam. One of the sons of the men who had come in hoping to play hero had gone missing. The father hadn't been worried about the boy, as he was 12 and strong for his age. According to the dad, his son had a Bowie knife stashed in his boot in case anyone did try to grab him. The next day the store was closed. They had never done anything like that before, but we all breathed a sign of relief. I didn't worry about missing out on some money. No kids could get taken if there was no place to take them from. It stayed closed for a week as investigations were carried out. Lots of people were interviewed, but luckily I wasn't. I'm not sure what I would have said anyway. I only learned about this secondhand, but the tapes that would normally show every square inch of the store never showed what happened to the kids. In every tape, each kid seemed to disappear inexplicably into thin air. It was blamed on a weird glitch, though I'm not sure if anyone believed that. Conspiracy theories went crazy, and a lot of higher-up managers were threatened. People blamed human trafficking, alien abductions, and even portals to another dimension. Someone tried to burn the store down, but they didn't succeed, and they never caught who did it. After that, the corporate types decided that closing the store down permanently was the best course of action. I stayed during the last days and watched the store go down like some kind of dying animal. There was one last code atom. A 10-year-old had come into the store to buy cheap clothes with her parents during the liquidation sale, and had not been found. I suppose the fact that the store was packed with bargaining hunters had lulled her parents into thinking she was safe. After that day, they closed the store and shipped the inventory off to be sold elsewhere. I never set foot in that place again. Not that I wanted to. I think the parents of the kids who went missing sued the store, but I'm not sure what became of that. It's a few years later now, and I've thankfully moved away. I have a good job far removed from retail or any big box store. When I visit my parents, I have to drive by that old, dilapidated building. It's covered in graffiti, and from the looks of it, someone tried to burn it down again. And that place has become a source of legend to the local kids who live there. Apparently, if you walk up to the walls and press your ear to the decaying cinder block, you can hear children screaming.